Wow, all three of us are here. Holy guacamole.
Gosh.
Frank, good to see you. And
Well,
see everybody.
We have a little special today. But first, I think there's Frank Gregory up there, my compatriot in capital gains. Hans, he is the I believe are you the Prince of Income, the King of Income?
The Prince of Income.
I gotta
get
the
Prime Minister of Income in
Prime
Canada,
Minister. Prime Minister.
We don't like kings here, Andrew.
Exactly. There's no kings. There's no kings in this protest. And I'm your humble director of education, optionbit.com. I've been trading options 30 years. Andrew Giovinazzi, that is me. And we have been here at Option Pit for, I can't believe it, but it's going to be 15 years Mark started. Can't believe it. Crazy town. 34 years. My gosh. 5 decades of trading options. 80s, 90s. I can't even say it.
Oh my gosh. It's and you know what? I bet you're looking forward to another 30.
So we'll start though with Frank. I'd like a couple of minutes here. Hans and I are going to delve into a little AI, but we're going to start with Frank because we've got some geopolitical unrest. We also have a Senate bill. Anyway, Frank is going to start, and then Hans and I will go into what we believe is the next wave of AI. So, Frank, take it away.
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. I haven't seen any unrest in the world.
Oh, you haven't? Is it? Well, you're kind of in your leafy New Jersey there, right on the Hudson River, or there's no unrest there. There's no unrest there.
Hold on, let me look out the window real quick. No, so look, we were hopeful. I did this show on Friday, and we were hopeful that things were going to de-escalate. I think all of us on the call were wishing that, and we were wrong. In fact, it did not de-escalate. I think from a fundamental standpoint, Israel, to a certain degree, underestimated the extent to which Iran had some pretty capable weapons. They very quickly asserted air dominance. I mean, Iran has no air force; it's wiped out. Their ability to project air power, done. Also, their ability to really defend the homeland to a great degree has been wiped out. Israel is operating with impunity over Iranian airspace. They've also got a lot of assets on the ground. The Mossad pulled off again some wild things. I mean, they built a drone factory on Iranian soil, and they've had it there for years. And they launched attacks with those drones. It's incredible when you really think about their ability to do that. Now they've had some help from some of the Iranian people who want to see a regime change. Unfortunately, some of those people have since been executed over the last few days. It's a very big shame. But they did underestimate the number of hypersonics and other weapons that Iran had. So, Israel struck. Iran retaliated with some initial just what I would call their lower level weapons, drones, some very dumb missiles, and did not really inflict any damage. But they did take a huge toll on Israel's defense systems. Then they started launching their hypersonic missiles, which, if nobody knows what they are, those are traveling between Mach 5 and Mach 6. So, thousands and thousands of miles an hour. They are coming in so fast. Many of them don't even need warheads. It's just the kinetic impact of these things coming in that fast that cause the damage. And Iran had a lot more of those than I think Israel anticipated. That caused Israel to then, because Iran indiscriminately attacked civilian centers, did not go after military targets. So that ticked some people off. Israel then has upped its retaliation, going after oil fields and some other bigger infrastructure items that they had been ignoring. Their initial attacks were solely military focused. Now they're going after infrastructure. I don't know if you saw, but like Donald Trump has been urging people to leave to evacuate certain areas of Iran in anticipation of further strikes. So unfortunately, this is escalating. Some infrastructure has been hit, including oil and gas infrastructure, which is causing that market to pop up a little bit. Certainly, from an equity standpoint, volatility is probably higher than we were hoping for because of the uncertainty of what's going on there. So, quick summary of that. I'm not going to.
Would you see, Frank? Would you say like this could be this could push the regime change thing maybe to the forefront a little bit?
You're hoping, and certainly you're seeing. Again, unfortunately, in today's world, and I'm sure this is an AI topic for the two of you later. How much do you really trust on the internet nowadays?
Right.
And you see reporting. I think Elon Musk called it. Trustless internet is the world we've now entered, and I would agree with that. Where AI is so good that you don't know what's real, you don't know what's fake. Sometimes you are seeing a lot of celebrations in certain areas of Iran. With the people on the streets celebrating the Israeli actions, and there have been unconfirmed reports that the regime's families have been moved to other countries. So, does that portend a regime change? Maybe. With so much Mossad on the ground, maybe they are instigating that as well. I think it would be good for the world to get. It's a very despotic regime. It'd be good to get put an end to that. What we're talking over 40 years now of that regime. So it would be nice to get that off the plate. So we'll see. But in the interim, it's going to be, and that's not going to be an easy process, by the way. So I wish them luck and, Godspeed. And I hope we don't have any more casualties.
That is so again, we'll talk more about this cap gains at 2:00. For all of you that joined last week, thank you. We had a couple of nice little starter kits to the week. So we'll see you there at 2:00. And Claire Hahn said Israel no longer accepting Band-Aid solutions. That is it. I think now.
And we're going to talk. You mentioned at the top that there's also a defense, or the budget. We'll discuss that during capital gains. So we'll just put a little teaser in there.
Yeah, we've got a full we have a full agenda today if there ever was one there.
Yes, we do.
And Alejandro just says, I can't believe Andrew's wearing a puffy warm sweater in the middle of June in Maine. By the way, Maine doesn't get warm until the first day of summer, Alejandro.
I had a leather jacket on in New Jersey this morning. It's been freezing here.
Yeah. So I'm just letting you know, it won't. I will get warm. I will get warm. Speaking of warm, who's been warming up and waiting for us is Hans. Why don't you talk a little bit about this afternoon? Also, what is going on?
Gentlemen, I'm going to sign off
today.
Good seeing you both.
All right, Frank. Thank you very much. Have a good day. We'll see you later.
Take care. Thank you, everybody.
So yes, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Andrew. And I'm getting excited. So if anybody's in Turtle Income, if anybody reads my newsletters, either paid or free, I'm always kind of gushing about AI. And so I think what we're starting to see is that there is a kind of a sort of next sea change in a way that AI is going to be used, And that is really, really exciting for me because I think people are actually kind of underestimating its impact, right? I mean, it's hard to believe. That sounds ridiculous to say, but because we always talk about AI, we always talk about technology and Mag 7, et cetera, et cetera. But I think this is sort of an interesting phase where something is finally coming to fruition. So what I like to tell the story about, I've been covering this area since 2017 more deeply. I ran a thematic set of ETFs in this theme and ran a number of funds that invested in it. And so I would tell people, listen, this is going to be a big thing. NVIDIA is going to be the bomb. And that was 100 times. I think it's gone up maybe 40 times since. I wish I went full port into it at that point. But something interesting happened at that point, right? There was Deep Mind. Don't get this confused with Deep Seek, right? We've heard about the Chinese Deep Seek that got everybody excited a couple of months ago, 3 months ago, got everybody worried about China, having advancements in AI, which I think is still always going to be a thing. So it's a competitive area. Yeah, Palantir, says Jose. Yes, there are a number of stocks that look very interesting to me. Now, what happened back then is, I don't know if you guys remember, but Deep Mind, this is back when Google kind of knew what it was doing. And Deep Mind learned to play the game Go. And Go is a Chinese game, kind of like a checkers, chess kind of game that has trillions of possible positions. Trillions of possible positions, not all good, proper positions, but in terms of, it's very, very complicated to, think of chess on like, super steroids. Deep Mind was starting to beat the biggest professionals in the world at the game of Go. This did not sit well with China, right? Here comes Google. They're starting to beat us at our game that's been around for 2,500 years. But one interesting thing happened. It actually came up with a new move. This move had never been documented, and the pros said, wow, that's a new move. AI came up with an entirely new move in a game that had been around for 2,500 years. That was a very interesting moment where people started to think, well, AI is going to be able to learn and start to do these incredible things. And that basically means that AI has this sort of ability to kind of invent strategies, to think beyond the box, right? So I think anybody who's been following it for a couple of years has sort of thought, wow, these guys are spending 75 billion, 100 billion, 125 billion. Yeah, maybe they cheated, Vicky. It was, they're spending all this money on a glorified chatbot. And I remember, even thinking, wow, that's a lot of money to spend on a pretty fancy chatbot. We are moving beyond that in a way that nobody quite understands. I mean, some people do. Eric Schmidt talked about it not long ago. He's the former Google CEO, and he said this is underhyped. And I want to get people to realize that. And so my event this afternoon is really going to start touching upon that. And I hope it's one of many. But the idea is that as we move from training into inference, so think of training as you give a computer, 5 million pictures of a cat, that's training. When you then show it a picture of a cat or something different, it says that's a cat or that's not a cat, right? That's the inference part. The inference part is the amazing, amazing thing, right? That signals that we are now moving into a phase where there are going to be real world applications, inference-driven systems that are going to, not just mirror systems, right? Not just kind of regurgitate and give us stuff back. Like when you go on Amazon, it's like, well, you like this, you're going to like this stuff. This goes many steps further. It starts to create new systems. And so this is really, really exciting because from the standpoint of monetization, it's not just NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA is going to keep doing well. They're going to continue to sell inference and training GPUs. It's one of my favorite names. But we're going to see this start to kind of permeate throughout the economy. Is that the right word? Pervade throughout the economy.
Permeate, I think, there's pervasive, permeated, but those are good. I think we'll take those.
We'll take permeating. We like permeating. Permeating is very powerful when it comes to AI because it has this ability right down to what everyone's doing, right? If you've used ChatGPT, the other day I went, oh, I need a new computer. This thing is getting awful. And I took a screen picture of an ad that I saw. And I said, well, is this any good? And they said, yeah, what do you want to use it for? It looks fantastic. And I said, well, I need it for this and this. And I like to run all these browsers and these programs. And it said, nah, that's not going to be good enough. Here are the pieces that are good here. And I said, well, how old is this thing? It was refurbished, which got me on the price. And I thought, well, that's kind of cheap. And they said, no, this is too old. It was made based on, it goes through all the pieces. It goes based on this piece. It was made in 2016. That piece was made in 2019. This one was outdated by 2021. It gives me a full rundown. And then, I mean, I'm not going to give you the whole story, but it literally went on and on and on, guiding me to the right system, which was a heck of a lot more expensive. So maybe some damn computer manufacturer was behind that AI, but they got me for a good computer. But I found it fascinating to see what they were doing, what it was doing to help me there. So longer story short, that Go situation is now, we're finally seeing this come to fruition. in the broader economy, right? This is happening, and there are companies that are going to do very, very fantastic with that. We're here, right? So I'm going to be talking about 3 stocks at 12:30 today. If you sign up for special situations, you're going to get those. And I have a thought that you're probably going to, maybe get an idea or 2 more over time. And this is the time that we want to start taking advantage of this. And it's not that urgent, but it's really urgent, because we have this big conference starting tomorrow in Singapore, the AI conference, 18th and 19th. And I think this is going to be the first of many notable events where people are going to hit the headlines, right? Think of this industry, and it's going to move throughout the stock market in certain ways. It's going to be a headline grabber for years to come. And so these are companies that are going to help in what I'm talking about. They're going to help to develop these kinds of things for companies and industries that need help with that. And so that puts them in a very fortunate position, right? Their phone's going to be ringing off the hook. That's kind of the easiest way to talk about it. So I'm excited about it. I don't know, Andrew, what do you think? I mean, I think this is really the beginning of something special. I think some people sort of think it's, kind of, are we in the 8th inning of AI? I think we're probably in the end of the first, maybe the second. That's how amazing.
Yeah, look, the good thing is, so since I know what your picks are, and I'm glad that I already own them, so it makes me happy and warm. So, but I'm excited to see what the trade you come up with, because that makes my job easier. Then I don't have to think. So I will not be there. I just get to lurk in the background. That's one of the benefits of being in Option Pit. You can lurk in the background of everything. All right, Hans, we'll see you at 12:30.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you then.
All right, Hans, thanks for coming. So,
all right.
So today what I want to talk about here is what Hans brought up is essentially the next wave of AI. So what I want to do here is kind of go through this a little bit today and discuss. So I want to go through what I call like 3 levels of AI. All right. So I think right now we basically, we can agree or disagree, but I think we have created sort of level 1, right? Where the market bid up stocks that were going to benefit and build out AI infrastructure. Kind of like, in the 1800s, we built railway tracks and railroads and railway and steam engines, right? Now, when they did that, did anybody really see the growth that was going to happen as towns sprung up along the railway lines? It was kind of like the internet again in the 1990s, right? Social media came a decade later. So I right now, I think like Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Google, NVIDIA, and AVGO, these are really like the big. I'm not putting Apple in here because I don't think Apple has really had a good AI strategy up till now. And the stock is actually down a bunch. Oh, and Terry's saying AMD. So I could throw AMD, right? Or we could just make it easy and just say, I'm long SMH because I don't know which one's going to do it. Okay. So these are the stocks that, but all of them are near all-time highs. Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, they're all, and I'm not saying they can't grow, but they're pretty big, right? How do they grow from here? So it doesn't mean that these aren't great companies, but what I want for us, for myself, for students is where is the next level of growth coming from? Now, the second part here is, and a theme is, all of these companies, Microsoft, Meta, and Amazon, have all contracted, and this is the next leg, for AI infrastructure and support. This is also a growth area for us. So anything, energy companies, and I believe how much one ChatGPT query takes in energy. Like it's like a light bulb or something like that. We were Googling it this morning. And we know it's very, very energy intensive. That is not going to go away. Like Hans said, it's not going away. It is going to be with us and only get bigger. Okay. It's only going to get bigger. Now, what I want to do here is we talked about big money flow in here last week. There's a video out, and about looking at big money flow. And this is what I call option fingerprints. And I'm going to talk about this tonight at 7 p.m. with Hannah, right? Where, and hopefully, I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm going to grow this a little bit for you. But what I want to see is, again, when you look at long-term options and also the timing of this, and this is another thing about tonight, and a catalyst for owning Jan 26. So if you think about it like this, if you're buying options that are expiring at the end, or expiring Jan 2026, and you're an institution, what are you expecting to happen over the next 6 months? We have had a lot of turmoil in the first half of the year. The market's essentially flat first half of the year, maybe up a little bit right now. But if we're seeing large institutional buying into Jan 2026, what are you expecting for the second half of the year? Right? We're expecting a little lift. So SMR is a stock Frank and I talk about a lot. And again, down here, some of these are very, very speculative. Okay. This is a stock to trade. I have traded in and out of it. I'm currently out of my shares because I got taken out when we had this crazy boom or crazy lift in the stock. Calls I wrote against it. I'm like, no way it gets there. And like the stock's up like 100% in what is it, like a month or something like that. So anyway, it did. I'm not going to complain, but again, these are stocks to trade. So SMR is a new scale energy. And again, it's my belief that the only way to service these guys is to have nuclear energy close to the data centers and the places that are going to consume this energy. So anything related to nuclear energy are all going to be, again, right now, if you think about it, a lot of nuclear energy companies trade like utilities. I'll give you, and I'm going to give you an example. In the 80s, do you guys remember there was AT&T? There was one phone company, right? Do you remember that way back when? AT&T, one phone company. They split. They came, and now all of a sudden we had 7 little phone companies from AT&T. And the volatility in all of that was all very low. Now, they were forced to split, right? But what happened to the value of everybody thought they were utilities. What happened to the value of all those companies over time? We had cell phones, internet, blah, 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 blah. All huge, like the whole nature of telephones changed forever. So you follow me with this? Regular utility companies are going to have to provide much more energy than before. And they're going to need to contract out with some of these smaller players to make this work. So again, this is very highly speculative. It's early, but a stock like SMR, and I want to show you here. And this PDF will be available. We'll send it out. But what I look in option fingerprints is institutional volume, long time out. Most retail do not play 1 to 2 years out. So on December 31st, 2024, remember everybody was kind of happy, end of the year was a pretty good year, 2024. Woo, right? Okay. These are some of, I'm going to say the volume here The highest strike volume is about 1,000 contracts, 1,300 contracts on the Jan 2026. SMR was trading around $17, $18. All right, we have some decent volume here, and there's a little volume about up to the 40s, about 500 contracts. Now, right now, SMR is trading about 44 bucks, 43 bucks. Okay, so this is the fingerprint today. Okay, again, these 20 calls, this is what I like. This is the stuff I like to see. Okay, there was 800 calls. These calls are now $20 in the money. And again, more accumulation of volume. Volume here over the last 6 months in this stock. And remember, this was a very volatile 6 months. We've got like 4 to 5 times the volume we had in January. So all of a sudden now, you're seeing a lot more volume, right? Again, more speculative volume. And you want to see all of this, the growth in volume and rising volume over time. Now, we had a very volatile 6 months, and the markets can happen. But what I'm showing is there's just more flow and interest going into the name. If institutions didn't care, they wouldn't be buying this stuff. And that's what makes it an interesting stock to trade. And the reason why I tried to, another reason just staying long it for so long. So this is what I call option fingerprints, long-term accumulation by institutional clients. Hannah and I will talk about it tonight at 7 o'clock. Lastly here, right before we go, this is what I want to leave you with. There are 3 areas, and this is what Hans was talking about, that what's emerging right now. So what I want is I want stocks that are going to jump on the AI train, what I call level 3, in 3 key areas that I'm interested in, right? Again, this is not rocket science. Anybody can figure this out as far as what's interesting. These are again, what I think. Anything that's live, any live activity that AI, right? Because people can't replace live. They don't want to replace this. That's why they still see football games. We see basketball games. Why there's value on live entertainment. That is not going away. It's only going to become more valuable. Number 1. Number 2, any data, any network, any social network, any live network that has data is going to become more valuable. And then lastly, of course, energy. Anything in the energy space, anything in the production of energy, even solar energy, right? Imagine this, anything that needs a battery, anything that's going to have solar energy on top. I think that, as Hans said, I think right now the market is underestimating the need for energy. So for us, from a trade point of view, what makes this interesting? Okay, we're halfway through the year right now. And if you're accumulating Jan 2026 options and your institutions, right, buying 1,000, 2,000, 4,000 calls that are 10 to 15 bucks, and you're buying Jan 2026, you are sitting on these for a rally in the second half of the year. So that's the opportunity for us. I want to, these are all picks that I'm doing. All options that I'm buying or will buy, I won't front run everybody, right? And stocks that I already own are going to buy more, that are taking advantage of what I think is one of the great opportunities of the year. So I think as an investor, these are important places to be. As an option trader, my job is to find the best options I think will do the job to be the most efficient, to make us the money that we want to make. And all of this will be happening at 7 p.m. tonight with Hannah. We'll talk about the sectors, what's emerging, the opportunity that's there. But again, this is a perfect second half of the year. The first half of the year was nuts. But now, what are institutions buying for the second half of the year? That's why Jan 2026 is an important term, because those are the options that will pick up and do the best for the second half of the year. First half is gone. Now we're looking at the second half as, again, more information comes out, as Frank discussed. And again, in capital gains, we'll hit on a couple things there. But for us, right, this will be an opportunity tonight to check this stuff out. We lay out the case. And I think this is probably one of the better, it kind of reminds me of like the internet in like 1995, right? 1996. How do you go about all this stuff? What are the companies that are going to win? Because right now, the good thing with AI, these are already companies that are bringing money in, that already have networks, that already have customers, right? How is AI going to improve all the value of the things they have? So we'll be discussing that, plus the option fingerprint to see institutional accumulation. All right. So that's tonight, 7 p.m. Hannah put the link up there. That's the event. Check it out. Event's free. Come by and see us. Say hi to Anna. Say hi to me. And that's what we got for today. So hopefully you're excited. I'm excited. I think this is going to be a great opportunity. And I'm excited for the second half of the year. We've put a lot of, let's just call it, interesting geopolitical stuff behind us. And I want to get on what institutions are buying for the second half. All right. All right, everybody. It's Andrew Giovinazzi for optionpit.com. Thank you for coming. And we'll see you tonight at 7.